parts of the publication process go behind the scenes, which you as the author do not need to be involved in and worry about. These are the parts that the publishers are responsible for. The publication process that you should be aware of starts with your manuscript. Once you have completed your paper and have it proofread, you go to the online submission center of the scientific journal you wish to publish your work. You can easily find the link to the online submission on the website of that publisher or journal, usually in a separate section or on the author's guideline page. Remember, you should not submit the same manuscript to more than one journal or publisher at the same time. Wait for the publisher's response before deciding to submit it elsewhere. The online submission process is very straightforward. You will be step-by-step prompted to enter your details and your manuscript abstract. You will also be prompted to upload your manuscript and other files such as tables and graphs, complementary data and results, and your cover letter. Your submission is then given a unique ID that you can use to track the progress of your article if you have an account on that publisher's website. Your manuscript is first passed on to the editor, who will screen it for a suitability for the journal. This will be your first hurdle, as many papers get immediately rejected because they do not fit the objectives and themes of that particular journal. This is a very important point for novice authors to consider. Remember that writing a manuscript for a particular journal and its style takes a lot of time and effort. You don't want all that to go to waste because you simply didn't take a few minutes to go through the journal's information on its scope. I will talk about this step in detail in the next lectures and offer you very important points to consider when choosing a journal for publication. Most editors respond in a week, but depending on that publisher and the number of articles submitted in that time, the editor may take up to 2 weeks to decide about the suitability of your paper and start the review process. Most publishers now have an online tracking system whereby the editor's decision is sent to your email address automatically by the system. The important point is that the editor's decision is almost always binding. This means you cannot correspond with that editor to ask him or her to reconsider your paper. Here is where the importance of the cover letter or the letter to the editor is evident. In section 3 of this course, I will give you important tips about how to write the most effective cover letter and show you some examples that you can use as the baseline for your letter. If the editor agrees that your manuscript's theme and objective fit that of the journal, he or she will start the review process by inviting at least 2 reviewers to carefully and critically read your work and comment on it. There are several points about this stage that you need to be aware of. First off, the reviewers are not paid. They volunteer to assess your work. This means that they may take any time between a month to 3 months to complete their assessment. So expect your publication process to be lengthy and prepare your works in a way that you give ample time to the process to complete before you see your paper published. Then there is the matter of the decision. If the 2 reviewers' decisions are contradictory, or the editor cannot clearly decide the fate of your paper based on the 2 reviewers' comments, then the editor usually invites a 3rd reviewer and uses the majority vote to give you the final decision as to whether your manuscript is accepted for publication, rejected, or needs major or minor revisions. When an editor gives me shorter time than usual to finish reviewing a manuscript, I assume that I might be that 3rd reviewer, maybe because the editor couldn't have come to the final verdict based on the previous 2 reviewers' comments. Most journals have a pool of their preferred reviewers that are registered with them. The editor contacts the reviewers whom he or she thinks are most suitable to examine your work based on their expertise. Unlike the editor's decision, you can and should respond to the reviewers if you disagree with their points. But there is a catch to it that I will discuss in detail in section 3 of this course on how to respond to the reviewers' feedback. The review process in most journals is a double-blind peer review. This means that you won't know for sure who has reviewed your work, and the reviewers won't know your identity either. There are of course exceptions to these that I will discuss further. If your paper is rejected, you usually won't have that much say to push it forward again. The editor may suggest alternative journals or ask you to fully consider all the reviewers' comments for your future submissions to other journals. And acceptance without revisions is very rare. Most accepted papers require minor or major revisions. At this stage, most authors get discouraged and leave off the process. This is a big mistake. You have come so far not to throw all your efforts away. You're only a few steps away from achieving your goal. So follow my guidelines in section 3 to very carefully respond to the critics of your work and finally get it published. If you've jumped over all those previous hurdles, you only have one left, and that is the precise proofreading of your paper for any mistakes or errors, and perhaps supplying any complementary materials in the final stage. The copy editors will take care of the rest of the process, and hopefully you will soon see your work published.